Welcome to another episode of Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. I am your host, Lionel McDonald. So let's get into it. We're going to talk WNBA today. Season's underway. The league is growing at this astronomical rate. This is the last year of their CBA, so there's going to be a new contract and so forth. But yeah, we're going into the second weekend of the season. So the season literally this is the 8th day since they've started the new season for 2025. And we can talk about my preseason rankings. Well, let's kind of just go through, I won't even give you the whole league. I'll give you the highlights. But number one team is the New York Liberty, defending champions. That's who I think is the number one team. They literally brought back all the key pieces. So Sabrina's back. Obviously, Jonquel Jones, which is a key player for them in the middle. Brianna Stewart, which is arguably an MVP candidate every year. I said Sabrina. And then as we kind of go down the list, Johannes is going to be back. Leonie Fishbeck is also part of the mix. They are missing one player due to injury, but I think overall, this is still the team to beat. They have so many weapons. They can score from outside. They can score from mid-range. They can score, and obviously they can defend. They're the champs until someone takes them out. I still think they're the odds-on favorite. That's according to what Vegas has got, the odds-on favorite to win the title. Second, I definitely have the Minnesota Lynx. They are bringing back their whole team. Started the season a little slow in some people's eyes because they weren't up to full strength. Caleb McBride, which we'll get into a second, but they are back 100% and are ready to go. They're obviously led by Queen Fee, Nafisa Collier. Her and Brianna Stewart started unrivaled this past offseason, so people didn't have to go to Europe and Russia to play. She was the MVP of that league. Was, I think, number 2 or number 3 in MVP voting last season. I think she was ahead of Brianna Stewart when Asia Wilson won. So they're locked in. They are ready to go. They have defense. They have guard play. They have a go-to scorer, Courtney Williams, and when Caleb McBride is back. But they have a ton of other pieces. They got Heineman, Brigitte Carlton from Canada, Alana Smith to play up front. They are locked in and ready to go, and obviously we'll definitely see how things go for them as the season transpires. Jessica Shepard is going to be a someone to watch on that team as she continues to get more and more minutes and make an impact. As we kind of go into some of the other teams, I think we have to mention that the Indiana Fever are probably the team to watch. And yes, Caitlin Clark has brought a lot more eyes to the game, but they went crazy in the offseason. Not only locking up what they needed off the court in their GM, president, and coach, but what they have done in free agent was like during free agency and acquisitions, they felt like they were adding a new player every second day. Now, one of the best backcourts in Kelsey Mitchell and obviously Caitlin Clark. As a rookie last year, Caitlin Clark was the rookie of the year. I think no two ways about it. She's only going to grow and improve. Caitlin Clark is arguably one of the top contenders to be MVP. She's in the conversation to start this year. But her partner, Aaliyah Boston, and then they've added now Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham. They already had Lexi Hall, so they are locked. But then I think the Dewana Bonner signing, as we know that several things with the Sun in the offseason just imploded. We had players going everywhere. That is really now catapulted the Fever into the conversation for the title. Only 2 years removed. I think this is where we now land on the Aces. They have the best player in the league, in my opinion, in Asia Wilson. Jackie Young is still there. We got a healthy Chelsea Gray. Kelsey Plum is not there. Kelsey Plum is now moved on to the Los Angeles Sparks. For those watching on YouTube, see that I'm in full Sparks gear. We know Kelsey Plum is my favorite player. I've said it many times, and then Nafisa Collier. But it's definitely a different look, and there's been a lot of allegations of how they treat players. People have said a lot of different things about this team, but there's been a huge turnover in talent. When we look at what has happened in Las Vegas, in the Sin City. So there's going to be an adjustment time in terms of how this team comes together. I would say that for the same thing for the next team on my list, which would be the Phoenix Mercury. Now, hey, Phoenix, they have literally turned their roster over at least at the top of the roster when we look at their best players. Hey, they had Copper last year playing with Diana Taurasi, but Diana Taurasi, all-time best player in the WNBA from a scoring perspective, from many regards. She's the best player that we've ever had. You can say the women's game, but I think definitely in the WNBA, like there's no one even close to where she is from a scoring perspective. But they've added Satu Sabale, and then the sleeper is I don't know how you call her a sleeper, Alyssa Thomas, which is the wife of Dewana Barner that is on Indiana. She is now, so they got a big three. Thinking about the other pieces that they have a very good team. And with those three players being involved, now Copper is a little banged up and won't start the season. But hey, Sabale and Thomas finding ways to work together. Thomas will be the primary ball handler on this squad, and they'll work through a couple things, but they are definitely a team to watch. And then I probably will draw the line here at the LA Sparks. So, hey, LA Sparks, major moves that they made in the offseason. Obviously, adding Kelsey Plum. Azuri Stevenson is going to provide some much needed support in the front court. They still have Hamby. Rakita Jackson is only getting better. She should have a huge quantum leap from season 1 to season 2, as she was a rookie last year. They just need Cameron Brink to be back. And I really think we're going to see some massive strides with this team. So future is bright in LA when they have all their pieces, not only from a defensive end, because Brink is really going to anchor the back end. She's a shot block and rebounding specialist on top of being able to score with her back to the basket and face up. But she blew her ACL, so it's going to take some time for her to work herself all the way back and then be in game shape. So this easily could be, by mid-season they have her, and hopefully this team is still in the hunt when we're talking about the playoffs. But when we look at some of the other things, Paige Beckers is now in, so in Dallas, so as she was the first overall pick, and then Ariki Obaguale, sorry, and I butchered that last name, but Enrique is arguably top 5 scorer that we have in the league. So that is a nice duo that they have in the backcourt. They still have some pieces that they need. Carrington gives them some elite defense up front, or at least on the wing. So they got some things kind of coming to fruition. We know the Valkyrie is the new team. Kate Martin that left is maybe the most notable name that's on that squad. Even though she's a rookie, she just was on the Aces and she just got a lot of airtime last year. Although she's a growing and developing player, she played with Caitlin Clark at Iowa. But, definitely the Storm, I think they have a lot of things to work out. The Sky, although they added another name, Haley Van Lith, but they have a lot of things to kind of figure out. And not to get ahead of myself, but yeah, Vandersloot being on the team that she was on, she was on New York last year and won a title, but they got Angel Reese. Cardozo is going to makes a nice front court, but they're going to have to find ways to score. They added Kia Nurse. Kia Nurse is from Canada, starting to bounce around. Love Kia Nurse, but I'm not saying that her best days are bringing, but she's a veteran in the league. She's got to find a way that she can stick. but also to be consistent. She was really good at times in LA. They depended on her so much, on her scoring and her hard-nosed defense, but going to have to find ways that she can continue to contribute by staying on the floor. So I think the Sky, it's good. They're in for a rough one. So is the Sun in Connecticut because of their exit. The Dream is on the rise, although I think they may take a little time to form that synergy. Ryan Howard is incredible. We've seen her 3-on-3. We've seen her on the Olympic team. She didn't make the All-Star team last year because she was banged up, but the 2 previous years, she was on the All-Star team, so it's easy to have her miss the team. She is an up-and-comer. Will break through and be an All-Star this year, and we'll be in a conversation to be a WNBA or WNBA all, I won't say first team because that first team is like locked with the amount of talent they have, but second team, she definitely can make a run at what that looks like. So other teams that I didn't mention, I said the Storm. No, we're pretty well. We got everyone locked. So how's the season started so far? Let's start there. Well, Liberty defending champs out the gate 2-0. Lynx 3-0. Mercury looking good. They haven't even got Copper back, but Thomas and Sabale together 2-0. Aces dropped one. They're 1-1. Storm is 1-1. I think it's going to be a tough go. Hey, Valkyrie already got their first win so far this season. I don't know if anyone saw that happen. Narrowly missed the Mystics, and the Mystics I didn't mention in my preseason, but Mystics are going to have a tough year. Amongst other things, Elena Deladon is now retired. Huge Commanders fan, so I love her. She's great. She's been MVP. She's won the title, but even just the hope of her coming back to play, she's moved on to personal things. I think that's a challenge for this team to be good, although they're 2-1. So I think, thinking that they've maybe restocked what things have looked like. Sykes, I absolutely love Sonia Citron. She's going to be great. Kiki Irfan, who played for USC, and probably they could have won the title, in my opinion, but Juju went down on USC. So they got some players. Dolson, takes care of the middle. So if they can continue where they're cooking right now, maybe we have that may be the surprise team of the year and what happens with the Mystics. But overall, we got a bunch of teams 1-1. The Sparks are 1-2, so they've struggled. They lost a close game, their last one to the Mercury. Mercury at home, so they got the Valkyrie again on Friday night. This is being recorded on Friday. So that's the other game. I think maybe the one team that draws a ton of attention because of Angel Reese, that's tough out the gate, is the Chicago Sky. And as I look at the schedule, it's going to be tough for a little bit. They had a decent preseason. At least they beat the Brazil national team. They beat the Lynx, and the Lynx didn't play everyone, but they got beat by the Lynx 4 days later. They got beat by 5. They got destroyed 93-58 against the Fever. They also then lost to the Liberty. They have the Sparks on Sunday after the Sparks played the Valkyrie. Then they got the Mercury again. They may be 0-4 or 0-5 until they get a back-to-back against Dallas. And that's the month of February, or not month of February, I'm thinking NBA, but that's the month of May. So they could really be in some hot water overall. So what does this all mean? Who's going to win the title? Let's ask the question. Can the Liberty win? Liberty has all their pieces except for one wing defender who is a vital cog to what they had happening last year. So I don't know. Hey, the players that they depend on the most, between Jones, Sabrina, Anescu, and obviously Brianna Stewart, Beastu, they have enough to get it done. They've made some changes in the backcourt, but I definitely think, do they have enough to get it done? I definitely think some other pieces, Sabali, the other Sabali, because their sisters in the league. I definitely think there's an opportunity to to see things transpire. But Lainey Hamilton, which was their wing defender, that they literally put her against the best offensive player on the other team. She's having knee surgery. She's going to miss 5 to 6 months. There's a good chance she is not coming back until playoff time at best, and maybe we don't get her back for the entire year. So that is a question mark. If they can get her back and she is in form come playoffs, they really have a shot to do something. But, between that and then you got to talk about Indiana. Indiana's added all these pieces, changed what they've done off the court. They are prime. They've been the GM needs all the kudos in the world because they have absolutely been cooking. Now they're 2-1. They should be 3-0, but I really think that they've done a ton of things. You can see that Howard can score. You definitely see, obviously, Caitlin Clark, one of the best, efficiency and usage players in the entire league, and almost at 25% usage. Kelsey Milcher, her backcourt mate is there. Aaliyah Boston is only going to continue to grow. Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hall give this team a ton. But I think, again, as I mentioned, Dawana Howard is defense scoring. Dawana Howard is now the third all-time player in scoring in the entire WNBA, and obviously light years behind the 10,000 points that were scored by Diana Taurasi. But they got players. They have enough to get it done. They can go 7, 8 deep. So I think those are the top 3 teams. I think the Aces and the Mercury are kind of in that next tier. And then, you got, you would love to say that. I think once healthy, the Sparks can be in that conversation, either the bottom of that second tier or into the third tier. But then, I said the Mystics. I also said, it could be that surprise team. I think when you think about some of the other teams that are out there, can they string it all together in Seattle? Now, when you look at Seattle, still trying to figure out with some of their new players and, thinking that Elisa Clark, another departure from the Aces, she's now back in her own stomping grounds. But they have Skylar Diggins and then Gabby Williams that played on the French national team, and then they have NECA. That's a team. That is a team that can score the basketball, can defend. So and then Easy is in the middle, and then I think the wild card is Dominique Malgora, who was on the French national team. She's only 19. She was second overall in the draft. And how does she carve a piece for her to be in the team and ultimately to be in the rotation? So far for her, very tough start. She hasn't got a lot of playing time. It's going to take time to work her in and to get her reps. They're still waiting for Samuelson to come back after the ACL injury and surgery that she had in the offseason. I tell you that this team easily is better on paper than they're actually producing and what may produce this year. If we say the Mystics are the team that's on the rise, I think Seattle's the team that may be in the bottom third of the league just because of injuries and just trying to figure a couple things out. Hey, NECA and Skylar Diggins may not let that team fall like I'm talking about, but it'll be very interesting to see. So yes, to answer that question, Fever, a title contender, absolutely. The ceiling for the Sparks, they're a playoff team. If we look at the top 8 teams, they would be a top 8 team to make the playoffs. Unfortunately, if you're top 8, you're going to draw either Minnesota or New York, and that is not healthy for anyone that has championship aspirations. They need to break into like the top 5 that they can play one of these middle teams in. Hey, if they ended up playing Vegas, which I keep picking on, there could be a breakthrough. Wouldn't that be a series? Kelsey Plum going back against her old mates and her old coach that essentially didn't treat her right. And there were a lot of subliminals that people have shot at the culture that happened in on the Aces, and despite them winning 2 titles of the last 3 years, things were not rosy there. People didn't like how people were treated. Hamby got treated, and there's a lawsuit still trying to be resolved. Kelsey Plum had nothing but great things to say about the Sparks, but that's kind of a backhanded shot at what happened in Vegas. Didn't feel treated correctly. So there is a lot out there. There's a lot of opportunity for people to break through essentially and can see what happens. But that's what I think where the teams are. How far will the Aces fall? I don't think they can ever fall out of the playoff mix with Asia Wilson. But Asia Wilson gets injured, they're done. Now, I think with Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray and then obviously, Kelsey Plum not being on the team, some things had to happen. Some things had to happen, and it's a dramatic change. It's one of the biggest offseason changes that we've seen in some time, where we have a star player like we have on the Aces leave, and in turn we have a new player that all of a sudden is on the team, and everyone thinks very highly of her, but Jewel Lloyd is on this team. They did look good in the last meeting against Connecticut. Now, I didn't say very highly things about Connecticut, but hey, it's going to take some time for them to kind of figure things out. But, there were, again, when I mentioned the offseason, we'll kind of go into that. There were a lot of things. So Aces go all in. They think they can retool by getting Lloyd. And there were some trades and some draft picks. So we'll see. Kelsey Plum ultimately childhood dream was to play for the LA Sparks. That all came to fruition. Now she got a chance to play with the Sparks after the fallout with Becky Hammon and Asia Wilson, and that's what a lot of people say is the reason she left is because her fallout with Asia Wilson. So who knows what this looks like when they actually play together. I think that is going to be one of the most interesting things that we see in the upcoming season is how do these two work together or even acknowledge each other. I think is going to be a whole different thing. But new, fast-paced, up-tempo. She's playing with Dearica Hamby. She'll play with Cameron Brink. The team just seems like they have fun and they're going to get along. So let's see what that looks like. I already talked about the big three. Kalia Copper, Elisa Thomas, and Satu Sabale now make this amazing big three in Phoenix post Diana Taurasi. So I think this team is a dark horse to do some things, and we'll see what they look. Dallas Wings need a lot of help. Rika was the only key player on the team, but we're already seeing great things from Paige. Fastest or second fastest player to get to 40 points and 20 assists in her into her start of her career. She's already had a double-double. So I think some of just the things we've had already happened. So fastest player over the last decade to record a game that had 10 points and 10 assists plus. Third fastest player to have a 15-5-5 game on 50% shooting. Third fastest player in WNBA history, or fastest player in WNBA history to have 40 plus points and 20 points in their career. It's after 3 games. Fastest player over the last decade to have, again, I think I just said that one, 10 plus points and 10 plus assists. So she is making it happen. And it's only going to get better as they get more players and this team learns how to play together. So it will be very interesting. So Aces could fall out of the playoffs if they ever lost Asia. And I think that goes for if, a team like Minnesota lost Nafisa Collier, we could see them out of the playoff picture, but it's going to take time. It's going to take some things to figure some things out, but we'll see. Eyes on an MVP candidate. I think this is honestly, it's in my opinion, there's a couple dark horses, but I don't think there's 3 players that can win. Asia Wilson, reigning MVP, Caitlin Clark, and Nafisa Collier. Brianna Stewart has been in the conversation. She's been there. She will score from a great efficiency, all 3 levels. It's almost like I'm watching Carmelo Anthony, but she does it her own way. But I think those are the 3 players that can win. Now, I think what will matter is where these teams end up. So I think right now, in my opinion, the odds-on favorite is Nafisa Collier to be the MVP. The problem is she's not in a market that there's a screaming that she should be the MVP. I think this team, the Minnesota Lynx, can have the best record in the whole league. We'll talk about Kayla McBride in a second, but then I think all of the hype is on the Indiana Fever. These are selling the most tickets. They have the most sellouts. People are changing the arena to go and see them. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for Caitlin Clark to be the MVP. And then Asia Wilson, like she already had a superhuman season last year, two-time MVP, two-time, I think, defensive player of the year, she multi-year all-star, gold medals, national championship in college. Like she is the one. Asia Wilson's shoe makes perfect sense to me that it's called the Asia One because she is one of one. No player like her in the league, and push come to shove, she is the best player in the league. But I just don't know if she'll have the supporting cast, nor will the team have the record to solidify that she should be the MVP. We were talking about the Aces being a top two team in the West last year, and defending a two-time championship, and then they fell short. I think this is what may hold Asia Wilson back. But if she can keep them in title contention, why are we not talking about giving her another MVP? And then early playoff picture. I think it really comes down to, in my opinion, four teams when it's all said and done for the title. You probably have in the West. Actually, let me look at. I definitely think in the East, and if we're just talking the semifinals, um, I think we have the Liberty against the Fever, and I think the Fever can really win. And then I think we have the Lynx, and I'm going to say that the Aces fall, and I think it's really going to be the Mercury. Uh, I don't think anyone is as good as the Lynx, and I think that Lynx will close in on fruition of what they missed from last year. I think the Lynx beat the Fever in the finals. Now, this could be what we see for many years to come on what things look like in the WNBA, but that's how I see that shaking out. Now, I keep saying Kayla McBride's name. So she's on a leave of absence, personal. There is already been rumblings that there is a mental health issue. We don't know what it is. They're giving her time. And hey, I know there was even an article which I haven't got a chance to go through in great detail on her and her talking in the Athletic about mental health. And this is a 10-year vet. So do we believe when she's ready and she aligns that she can get herself ready to go and contribute as a professional? 100%. If any one player can do it, it's a 10-year vet. And Kayla McBride has that grit and that capability of being able to do this. But if they don't have her, or she is not 100% focused, they really need her shooting. And in clutch situation, if they're going to beat the Fever are loose and are hungry to win a title. We will have problems. One of the thing is, I would tell you that the Lynx have arguably the best depth in the entire league. So I think that there's opportunities between them and the Fever. I think have the best depth, but I think they can overcome Kayla McBride. But I think to get over the hump and win the title, they really could use her defense, her shooting, and her veteran presence. So that's WNBA. It's been a fun start. WNBA fantasy leagues are happening. I'm in a couple. It's been very exciting. There's lots of conversations happening. There's WhatsApp groups about this. There's Facebook chat groups that live stream or at least talk about the game as it's going on. So there's a lot of excitement about the WNBA. They're going to need new contracts. Their players should be players that in the millions, but we got to see how the finances shake out. We got a lot of great people advocating, including Cheryl Miller and Cynthia Cooper and Maya Moore and Candace Parker and Lisa Leslie, Don Staley, who's coaching at South Carolina, the Gamecocks. So there's a lot of people want to see this league grow, want to see these players get paid what they deserve. Now, hey, are we getting $20, $50 million contracts? No, they're not making that kind of money yet. But Can we have players breaking them? Like the highest salary, I think, is Jackie Young is making more than him, and it's like $256,000. So I definitely believe that there's a lot of opportunity for people to be paid way more than they are currently in the WNBA. But we'll have to see how things shake out. It's Lionel McDonald, WNBA special edition. We'll have to check back in mid-season how things are going, who's an all-star, who got snubbed, and we'll go from there. But go Knicks. We need to get game 2. Game 1 was a disaster. But we'll get at you and even this thing up with Indiana. But a lot of Indiana's like a hotbed for basketball. Pacers are in the Eastern Conference Final. We're talking about the Fever winning the title and Caitlin Clark being MVP. So a lot of good things happening in the L or in the W in this case. Thanks for listening. Stinks Rhymes in Life available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and YouTube if you're watching me live. Peace.